welcome back to Screenwriting on the Wall. This is the third episode. It's been a hot minute since we've recorded anything together, except for what we recorded 5 minutes ago.
For those
But
of you
that was
listening,
only two out of the three of us.
listening at home, here's what happened. We recorded 2 hours of a podcast, and Josh said he wasn't recording, so we had to start fresh.
Yeah, but that's okay, because the only thing of merit that he said in that whole 2 hours was the letterbox story, which we're gonna let him rehash right now, right here, right now.
Right now as well, because that's the only merit that I have as a movie enjoyer.
Is your letterbox reviews?
Anyway, what I was saying is you asked me how I'd been doing or what I'd been up to or something. I don't know, whatever.
That sounds very uncharacteristic of me.
This is going so much worse than the first take.
No, this is natural. This is completely how we roll. I think this is more on brand.
This is how Mafia works.
No, basically I was just talking about how I had been listening to the Letterboxd show recently, in relation to our own Talking About Movies podcast. I don't have to go into the details again. It was a completely...
Well, to be fair, you didn't remember most of the details.
That's kind of where I was going with that. Like, I don't even know what I was talking about. But yeah, I've been listening to that show. I've been listening to that show. It's very
just
good.
Watching Jacob melt down on his little screen. Jacob, what have you been up to in the movie world? Josh burned his bridge.
Yeah, I mean, as far as movies go, I'm gonna check my.
You always talk about TV too. So,
yeah,
TV shows.
You know what? So here's what I do. Like throughout the year, I've done this since 2019 or 2020. I keep a list of all the things, like all the media I consume throughout the year, and I give them a little rating and everything. Like I'll keep track of movies, shows, podcasts, books, games, all that good stuff, and that way, if I ever forget about something, I can go back and be like, "Hey, I watched this or I read this," So let's see what I did this month.
The only game on the list is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Probably. For those that don't know, it takes me. If I finish a game at all, it'll take me over a year to ever finish it.
Unless it's Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Because I'm not good at video games except for Super Smash Bros.
While we're on
Ultimate.
the subject of video games, I recently played the new God of War, and it is phenomenal in the world of storytelling.
Yeah, before we get too far, are we jumping off already? Are we going to talk about video games on our movie podcast?
Do we really have to have such a direction? I say we talk about.
Hey, I'm okay with it. I just want to make sure before we make that leap.
Video games now are just playable movies.
Since when has anything Monomyth has ever done had a definitive goal in mind?
Episode 1, what are your favorite? Episode 1, talk about movies. Episode 2, jumping straight into video games.
We don't have to talk about video games.
Well, technically, episode 2 was part 2.
Well, how was God of War? I've not even played the first one. So.
Oh well, the first one is phenomenal, and the second one is even better. It's absolutely phenomenal.
My question is... Now, wait, okay.
No, I'm asking you,
there were God of Wars earlier, right?
Yeah.
There were multiple God of War games earlier, right?
Yes. So, I mean...
And then they remake it?
Yes and no. So, they didn't remake the old God of War games and just make them Norse.
He's Norse now.
Yes, he is Norse now, but they didn't remake the games and make him Norse now. It's part of it. It's an ongoing
It's a different story.
Right.
And Ragnarok is the sequel to that new story.
Equal?
Yes.
And the next one is
anyway,
God of
basically
War,
Kratos murders the entire Greek pantheon at the end of the old God of War games. And
I'm familiar with that.
So he ends up in the Norse mythos somehow.
Spoilers.
It's not entirely
Well, he's got all the Greek done.
Yeah.
He's got a kid now.
Yes.
Boy.
And it feels, despite the fact that the old games were probably more like a rated mature type of thing, the story in these new games feels so much more mature, because it feels more relatable to what people actually go through. And the way that I described it, despite the fact that I'm not one, is that I think that God of War Ragnarok really appeals uh, to parents. It's kind of hard to explain
Suburban
without
white
like
women.
just going into spoilers in the story, but there's so many parts of it that just like if I really feel like I would connect to it a lot more uh, if I was a parent, and I imagine that other people who are parents who play the game felt really similar.
Nice.
Nice. Did you have your list, Jacob?
Yeah, I do.
Save us. Don't. We can't go down video game highway right now.
If we were, I would say I'm currently playing through The Last of Us Part 2, but I
You
won't.
need to finish that.
Oh, don't get Josh started on that. He's already done like 3 Twitter playthroughs of it.
So this month so far, I've watched 2 new movies, and I've watched finished 2 TV shows. Do we want to get into movies or shows first? Should we talk
think we
about
just-
movies first on this movie podcast?
I think we just leave it at that and let the audience guess what movies and shows you
Well,
might
that's
have watched.
pretty-
Okay, yeah. Leave a comment
just leave it
and
at
just
that.
comment what you think I watched this month.
How about I take a stab
Pause the
at it?
podcast now.
Okay, hang on.
Go,
I
Josh.
will
Take a
say
stab.
what I watched. Do you want me to say what I watched this month?
Well, let's see. I bet the TV shows were The Midnight Club and what else is out? You haven't been watching Andor, probably.
I plan on it because I've heard it's really good.
I've heard it's really good too.
Even
Sean
though
was
I've
playing on
been
it, too.
burned multiple times by Star Wars. TV.
Exactly. Star Wars.
But okay, so yeah, I finished The Midnight Club, which I'm a huge Mike Flanagan fan. He's done The Haunting of Hill House, Midnight Mass, all that good stuff. And I finished that one recently. I really, really enjoyed it. And I also finished season 4 of Atlanta, and Atlanta is a fantastic show for those of y'all who haven't seen
I
it.
remember you were watching that show.
Fantastic ending. I couldn't be happier with how it all wrapped up.
I agree.
With Childish Gambino.
Do up. What'd you say, Josh?
Josh.
Oh, I said that I agree. I also finished Atlanta this month.
Yeah. So yeah, you've watched both these shows too. I feel like a lot of what we watch kind of overlaps, but yeah, I really liked both of those. And in terms of movies, the first one I watched is a movie called Columbus, which is a very, very unique and interesting movie. Hang on, I'm going to pull up the Letterboxd description for what it's about because it can describe it better than I can. Okay, so this movie, Columbus, was directed by a director I've never heard of before. His name is Kogonada. I probably butchered that name. Came out in 2017, and the Letterboxd description of the plot is: when a renowned architecture scholar falls suddenly ill during a speaking tour, his son Jin finds himself stranded in Columbus, Indiana, a small Midwestern city celebrated for its many significant modernist buildings. Jin strikes up a friendship with Casey, a young architecture enthusiast who works at the local library. And I don't know what made me watch this movie. I think I just saw like some screenshots of it, and like all the shots from it just looked gorgeous, and it is a very gorgeously shot movie. But it's one of those movies where basically the whole thing is just kind of really low key, and it's mostly just 2 characters having conversations with each other. And yeah, it's just a really kind of just slow and quiet movie. And it's one of those movies where you just kind of have to, I guess, kind of vibe with it, I guess is the word I'm looking for. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen that, I highly recommend it.
Oh, Lord.
And
I just watched... sorry, I'll let you say your other one too, but
No,
I
you're good.
literally just watched 5 minutes before I came and jumped on this Zoom meeting, Alita Battle Angel.
Dude,
And-
I actually like that movie.
I was hype on it, so if we have a time at the end, I could
Yeah, we
go on.
could
for
definitely
that
get
for a
into
while.
that. I'll try to finish really quickly.
No, man.
The second one that I watched, and I actually watched this with Josh, was a movie called The Menu, which is another excellent movie. For different reasons. It's kind of on the opposite spectrum of Columbus, where Columbus is kind of like I don't know, just kind of a really gentle and slow kind of experience. The Menu is this like just shocking, over the top, like just kind of crazy movie. Yeah, Josh, you gave it like 5 stars, which is more than I did, which I really liked it, but I think you liked it a little bit more than I did. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, I will say to kind of segue from what you just said, I did give it 5 stars, and if you know me or follow my letterbox, you know that I don't give 5 stars very often. But I loved that movie. I thought
yeah,
it was
great.
absolutely phenomenal, and in the simplest way that I can put it, I guess, in the sense of trying to dissect it a little bit, is that the movie almost makes me feel bad for wanting to dissect it. It's very much kind of playing into the whole like people who rip art apart to the point where it's not enjoyable anymore. Type of
Should
thing.
I read the letter?
And then also
It's got Anya Taylor-Joy in it.
it does. And
Anya? Not Anya.
Anya Taylor-Joy and Ray Fiennes and Nicholas Hoult and some other people.
For those that don't know, I'll say what the plot is according to Letterboxd.
Cast.
So The Menu is directed by Mark Millard. I'm going to butcher this name too. Came out this year. It's about a couple travels to a coastal island to eat at an exclusive restaurant where the chef has prepared a lavish menu with some shocking surprises. That's very vague, and I think I like how vague
It's human,
is because
isn't it?
you should
It's
really
human
you should
meat,
really
isn't it?
go into this movie knowing as little as possible. Because I don't even think I saw a trailer for this. I just went into it because Josh and his roommate were wanting to see it, and like I knew something crazy was going to happen, but this movie took so many turns that I was not expecting at all in the best way.
It's human. Do they eat human?
No.
Dang.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to answer that either because I wasn't sure if we just wanted to like, oh, okay, we'll go straight into the whole spoiler territory. But
Well, I haven't seen it. I'm just looking at it on IMDb.
I will say that's one of the first places my mind went to, but they kind of go to, in a way, darker stuff than that.
If you don't like it, they kill you. I'm really just trying to guess the
want to
plot
spoil
of this
it for
movie. All right.
All I know is they don't eat people.
it's
That's
like,
okay.
yeah, it's very good. Honestly, I think that if you wanted to, an idea of whether you wanted to go see it or not, just go look at the poster because, not even joking, that was like 50% of the reason.
The poster does look pretty
It
good.
does. It's legitimately one of the best
It
film
looks good.
posters that I think, at least in like a modern film poster anyway, that I think I've ever seen. It perfectly encapsulates, I think, in one image what every character is in that film. And there you get so much personality out of a movie poster that you just don't get with most like floating head things today.
Yeah. It's the second most popular movie on IMDb's top 100, second only to Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Recently, I would assume.
Yeah.
Obviously, not
Yeah, I guess
forever.
so. I don't know. It was
Like in
it
theaters
was
now or something.
28th. It's moved up 28 points since it first started. It looks like. Yeah, it's moved up 28 spots. So it was 28th.
Yeah,
Now
I want to
it's
see more
enjoying success.
creative and kind of just crazy movies like this get popular.
Yeah, like The Menu. Yeah, I hadn't heard of it. I hadn't even seen it and heard
Like,
it.
honestly,
Didn't know
if you
anything.
do go to see it, which I think you should, don't watch a trailer for it. Just go into it blind. Like I
I
sincerely
already
think that's the best way
sat
to
here
see
and
it.
watched the trailer on IMDb.
What'd you do that for?
Well, it was on while you guys were talking, and so I was like, "Well, I'll plug myself in."
Well, never.
But I'm also seeing,
Don't watch
I'm
it
seeing an
now.
ad now. Oh, okay. I won't then. I'm seeing an ad now for Glass Onion, which
I'm excited
Josh
for that.
probably knows what it is.
I
You
am
know what it
actually
is.
that comes out Wednesday in theaters.
December 23rd.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or November 23rd theatrical sneak preview.
Yes.
November 23rd.
So it actually doesn't drop
Only
on
on Netflix, December 23rd.
It doesn't drop on Netflix until next month, late next month. But
2 days before
there
Christmas.
is a 1 week theatrical release, and
Which is bogus.
yes, and it's only in Memphis. It's not here. Like
Movie theaters
closest
are
to us
dying.
anyway. We'd have to go to Memphis, and I am 100% going to. so,
Don't get shot.
so at some point in the next week or so, I will be going to Memphis to see that movie.
How long will it be in Memphis?
Well, it's a 1 week theatrical release
Maybe it
globally
was Memphis.
until.
And it starts on Wednesday.
Yeah, it starts Wednesday. So
Okay.
Wednesday to
Like,
Wednesday.
yeah, I didn't know it lasted that long, so yeah, I'm definitely going to that. Cause like I feel like that's a movie that'll be like I didn't get to see the first Knives Out in theaters. I wish I had, but I feel like this would be a movie that'd be great to see in theaters.
Well, I want to bring up a movie that I feel almost confident that neither one of you have seen, that I have seen, and that is Where the Crawdads Sing.
I've heard of it.
Either of you seen that movie?
I haven't.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen
Have you
it.
seen it, Josh? Ha! So, see, I can watch movies you guys don't watch. I feel like I only get to blockbusters anymore. Like, I just don't make time to see movies or, like, go hunt for movies that I would actually enjoy. It's just movies I'm drugged to, which is Where the Crawdads Sing was, because my mom and sister and my wife were all going to see it. They wanted me to come along, and my wife is going, so I'm basically going anyway. It doesn't matter what the movie's about. But they tried to convince me to go because they were telling me it was like a murder mystery story. It's not a murder mystery story. It's a rom-com with a trial going on in the middle of it.
Well, was it a
And
good
so-
rom-com?
It wasn't bad. It was pretty good. I was engaged for
Yeah.
most of it.
Well, that's good.
The ending apparently is different from the book that it's based on. And I think, from what I've heard of the book ending, I don't read, so what I've heard of the book ending, I think I would like the book ending more than the movie ending. The movie ending just kind of, I think, goes too far and ruins some of the effect of the ending.
Gotcha.
But I know a lot of people that actually liked the movie kind of going the step further that it did. So
Yeah.
it is as it is. But that was the most recent movie I had seen was Where the Crawdads Sing. Like, new movie that I hadn't seen before and wasn't rewatching.
Yeah.
Until 10 minutes ago when I watched Alita Battle Angel.
Here's the thing. I
impressed
thought that
with.
movie would be kind of dumb, Alita Battle Angel, but I watched it. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed that. Like, that was a fun movie, I thought.
You gotta learn not to doubt Robert Rodriguez.
He did the Book of Boba Fett, which I didn't care for.
Okay. You can doubt him a little bit. Have you seen Alita, Josh?
I haven't, but
It
I
came out in
remember
like 2017 or something.
Yeah, I remember
2019.
when that movie came out. I'd contemplated going to see it, but I just never did, and I haven't seen it since.
Well,
then,
apparently
so-
not enough people did, because Jacob can relate to this. If there's one thing I hate more in a movie, it's a movie that sets up a sequel that hasn't secured funding for a sequel and then proceeds to not make enough money to get the sequel greenlit.
Yep.
God.
But yeah, it's
And
just
it's
like
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know. There's some, like, in this movie, it was like, it was just the right amount of corny for me. Like,
Yeah.
it simultaneously didn't take itself seriously, but it also took itself way too seriously in a way.
It's Speed Racer. It's Speed Racer.
Which I haven't seen that either.
I have seen Speed
Oh
Racer.
my
actually.
God. You have to watch Speed
I
Racer.
haven't seen Speed Racer in an extremely long time, but I actually have seen Speed Racer.
But it's like, I guess what I'm trying to say is it feels more genuine than a lot of blockbusters do,
Yeah.
in a way.
Well, you catch yourself feeling with the characters, and in a movie that has one fully CG or motion capture performance character, which was still pushing the boundary for when
Yeah.
that came out.
The movie looks good, honestly. Like,
It looks good,
yeah.
and I caught myself like emoting and like feeling
Yeah.
with the characters in it, which is always good. And the only thing I could really strike against it that kept taking me out of it and not letting me focus was, and I don't know if this is a My TV thing and streaming it on Hulu, or if it was just some weird edit that
Yeah.
they got for streaming. The audio was not synced right
Oh.
through most of the movie. Like, it was just like barely.
That
behind.
might have been a you thing, 'cause I've not noticed that anytime.
I know, I
I've,
was
I've
like-
seen it a couple times. I've not noticed that. So
I tried to put it out of my mind because I figured it was probably my TV trying to ruin
it could
the
be like an
experience for
internet
me.
thing or something.
I was just, but other than that, like, I enjoyed it. And then, but it's like, it's 2 hour and 2 minute runtime. And so I was like, okay, we're going to cover a lot of ground here, but we did not cover enough ground. And about halfway through the third act, I was like, the sequel that never came.
Well,
Yeah.
piggybacking off of that comment, this is going to sound crazy coming from somebody who has for some reason, deep love of Marvel movies, but I actually don't like when movies set up sequels. Just make a sequel if one's needed.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, I think, so if I understand the production of this, of Alita correctly, it was in production for like years. James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez were trying to get this thing greenlit for years.
Well, and it's
and
based
they
off of
finally
manga,
did.
is it not?
Yeah, it's based off a manga,
Yeah.
and oh, they finally got it greenlit. Well, it just didn't perform at the box office. But I imagine, like, knowing James Cameron, right? He was probably like, "I'll bankroll this bad boy.
Yeah.
Don't you worry." And then 20th Century Fox got bought by Disney, and then Disney was like, "Hey, James Cameron, you made this other movie called Avatar that we would much prefer you spend all your money
And he
on."
spent all his money on submarines to film Avatar 2.
Yeah. Spaceships and submarines.
Which
baby.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. Honestly, the new Avatar.
Yeah,
I'm excited too.
I heard Avatar 3
It looks.
was
I mean, it
one
looks
of
good,
the
but that
plans.
goes without saying. When can we see a movie that's really special effects heavy, like an actual movie, not a TV show, but like a full blown big budget movie? When do you think we'll see the next one that's special effects heavy that we'll look at and go, "Ugh, those special effects don't look that good."
When's
Whatever
the
the next
next
Marvel
time we'll see that?
project.
Wow.
The last
that's
one I saw that was like that was honestly Thor: Love and Thunder. Like there were several times where the special effects legitimately took me out of the movie, and that usually that I don't really pay attention to that. Like it has to be pretty bad to take me out of a movie, and there were several times throughout Thor: Love and Thunder where that happened.
I just feel like that's what you hear most about all the movies now. Is you're like, you can get into criticizing other parts of it, but generally everyone's like, "Oh, it just looks so good."
I think it's
Like,
because it's
even if it's not special effects, it's just like it looks so good.
I think it's because it's the easiest thing to kind of just rip apart or praise.
Yeah.
Even if because you don't even have to really know much about it, but like visually for any viewer, you can go, "That looks real," or it doesn't. And a lot of it kind of just comes down to that. A lot of people pick it apart. I'm in the same boat as Jacob in the sense that like unless it legitimately pulls me out of the movie, it really doesn't bother me if special effects aren't like perfect or anything. But that said, I really do feel like I've had conversations before, and I'm not like big. I'm not very knowledgeable into what the visual effects industry is like. But I kind of think that in today's time, it's just like they're so spread thin and rushed through so many projects that legitimately, if you look at projects a decade ago, they look better than they do today just because it just feels like everything's a rush job.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because can you imagine the first Iron Man when it came out, which I don't even remember when that
Still
is.
looks great. It came out in 2008.
But you got to think the guy came up to him and was like, "Hey, like, we're gonna make an Iron Man movie. This is what I need Iron Man to do." And the visual effects studio probably had the whole leash to just be like, "Well, it's gonna take us this long," and he was like, "Okay." But now it's progressively they've worked so closely with them and made so many of them. They're like, "Well, you did this in this amount of time. Can we do it like a week faster?"
Because literally this year there's been 3 Marvel films and like 3 or 4 shows. It's like it's crazy, like how much you gotta keep up with and everything. It's like I haven't actually watched any of the MCU shows. I watched like the first few episodes of WandaVision. Wasn't really for me. I kind of dropped it, and I still haven't seen Black Panther yet. And it's like I honestly don't know if I will. I don't know. I've kind of lost interest in a lot of it. Like I plan on watching the basically anything the Guardians of the Galaxy are in. I'll watch, but after that, I don't know if I'll just check out the ones that look interesting, I guess. But
What's really interesting about bringing up Iron Man in particular is that there's actually a lot of behind the scenes things that you can watch in relation to how they built the visual effects in that movie. And it one of my favorite things that I know about that movie in particular, and people talking about how the detail in visual effects movies, heavy movies like the first Iron Man film, actually comes from an episode of Corridors, like good and bad visual effects series that they do.
Their VFX React.
They had somebody on there a while back that kind of broke that movie down and talked about the sense of like creating detail and then subsequently hiding all of that detail and the difference that can make in making something look really good. And I kind of that kind of stuck in my mind for whatever reason, and now I kind of use that as like a basis for looking at what other visual effects shot looked like. Because even though I don't have the faintest idea how to construct any of the stuff that goes on in VFX shots, looking at it and going, this looks like somebody just slapped something over a piece of footage compared to something that's like really in detail. A bunch of work went into something, and then a lot of that work was covered up, but you still know the detail is there, and knowing like the difference that makes when you put in that extra work, how much visually different it can look. That's kind of where I think I start to look whenever breaking down some of the especially Marvel projects today.
Yeah, I believe there's a quote that they have said on that channel where I think they were joking, but they were like, the number one trick to visual effects is creating detail and then hiding it.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were like, that's the secret. But we have under 5 minutes, 4 minutes and 15 seconds left to be exactly on this shortened podcast recording. Thanks, Josh. And I have enjoyed where this has gone more than when we really tried to like script out our first take. I think this was a lot more relaxed and more fun to do. But we got totally sidetracked because I was very much planning to come in here and talk about the Lord of the Rings series on Amazon Prime and House of the Dragon on HBO Max. And none of that happened. And I feel like it's just because it's been so long and we were all just kind of like, done with that.
Yeah, we can say that for next episode. I've got a lot of thoughts on that show. On Lord of the Rings, I've not seen House of the Dragon, but
and see, I have a lot of thoughts on House of the Dragon, and I haven't seen Lord of the Rings, and I'm sure Josh has seen neither.
Did you guys just want to keep going?
I mean, well, you can talk about it now. We got 3 minutes.
All I gotta do is.
HBO Max was
What is that?
What is that?
24 items.
My Roku. My Roku just like gained sentience, I guess.
No Roku.
Apparently, I accidentally clicked screen reader somehow, and so
Lord.
I was trying to X out of it, and it kept reading everything that I was doing. And yeah.
Well, you know the problem is people are going to think this is a scripted bit, but this just happened naturally.
No, this was 100% just real. This is just my life.
Well, briefly, Jacob, what would you say? And if we remember by the next time we record, we can go into it deeply. But I imagine we'll all forget. What was your biggest letdown for Lord of the Rings? If you could sum up, in like
I would
couple
say
sentences.
the characters.
Yeah.
Because, in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I have not read the books. I've only read the Hobbit. I've not read the Lord of the Rings books. But I've seen the Lord of the Rings trilogy many times. I also really enjoy the Hobbit trilogy. And, like, the thing about both of those trilogies, I thought, is Peter Jackson did a great job of, like, getting us connected and endeared with these characters and everything. And with the Rings of Power, it was just kind of... I didn't feel connected to any of these characters. It's kind of just, I don't know. Everything just kind of felt underwritten in a way. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's a shame because like this is a much more, I guess, when it comes to the cast, it's a much more diverse cast and everything. And, you'll have a lot of people that shouldn't be listened to. That's like their number one criticism of it. And that kind of gets like, all criticism kind of gets lumped into that, which it shouldn't. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I think like with House of the Dragon, I think it was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it most of the way. I'm looking forward to where it goes. But I think its main problem holding it back from being a really great show was the fact that like it skipped. And I think I told this to you, not just like when we were talking one time, but like it skips around a lot. It's like really trying to be like a history book that's a TV show. And I feel like they could have condensed it. There's a lot that you could have just done without, or like taken storylines and mixed them together where it fit better in a series. It's based off a book apparently that George R. R. Martin wrote, so I guess they're just trying to follow the book as authentically as possible and whatnot. But I think that kind of let it down. But overall, it was good. I think it fared better than Lord of the Rings, which I think those were the two big series that were launched at the same point.
Yeah.
But Josh, which one have we sold you on? Which one are you gonna go watch now? House of the Dragon or Lord of the Rings?
I'm gonna watch Andor.